Now, Forecast First, brought to you by Brick Street Insurance.
Hi, I'm keeping you out with Spencer Atkins. It's 11 o'clock. Now, we're tracking more rain tonight. You can see some more heavy showers over here by Moorhead, Kentucky, moving to the east and to the north. Possibility of more high water. We do still have until 1:15 these flood warnings out for portions of Ohio and, of course, in the big rivers as well. In the morning at the bus stop, a couple of showers possible, 57 degrees, maybe even a rumble of thunder. Hang on for a wild weather ride. We're going to tell you about it coming up. 13 News at 11 begins right now.
Working for you. This is 13 News at 11.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Patrick Simon.
And I'm Jennifer Abney. Topping news this evening, major changes tonight in the proposed West Virginia education reform bill.
This as the bill is being discussed in the House Education Committee. The Education Committee room was so packed today. Many parents, teachers, and other interested people lined up in the outside hallway to listen to the meeting on a TV monitor. And that bill could impact public education, but some of the most controversial items have been altered or removed. A payroll protection provision that unions opposed is gone, and a so-called non-severability clause that could have rendered the entire bill unconstitutional is now removed.
The majority of the members of the House felt that provision was just a non-starter, and it wasn't, leadership didn't see any way that provision could remain in the bill or for it to move forward.
Because nothing they're throwing at us makes sense. There's no way we're going to let the teachers lose their seniority. That's more important than any 5% or 10% raise they could possibly get.
Yet changes in the seniority system are still being considered. The House Education Committee is also looking at the possibility of capping any charter schools in West Virginia to a total of 6. There could be many more changes in the bill as it moves through the Education and Finance committees. Milton police got called to an unusual scene this evening. A naked man was spotted walking into an apartment, then down the street on U.S. Route 60. Officers found 28-year-old Zachary Keaton and approached him. They say Keaton tried attacking the officer. He was subdued and taken into custody. Keaton is charged with assault on a police officer, indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and obstruction. He is currently in jail in lieu of a $4,000 bond.
A new group in the Mountain States working to get people identification cards free of charge, and it's all part of a new initiative by the national nonprofit Spread the Vote.
13 News reporter Lily Bradley sat down with the nonprofit's founder. She joins us now live in the studio with more. Lily.
Well, Pat, Jennifer, if you're one of the 85 million people that have a government-issued ID, it's something you probably take for granted. But it really is the key to so much that we don't even realize. So life can be made much more difficult for those that don't have an ID. That's why the national nonprofit Spread the Vote has started their new initiative, Project ID. And as of this week, they've got a new chapter right here in Charleston.
It's a small piece of paper that has a big impact.
Little piece of plastic. It's all it is, but it's the key to everything.
The national nonprofit Spread the Vote is hoping to change that by helping people here in the Mountain State get identification cards free of charge as part of their new initiative, Project ID.
I thought, well, I'll start Spread the Vote and help people get the IDs they need to vote. And it took very little time after that to really understand, oh, IDs are about so much more than voting. And whether you want to vote or not, if you don't have an ID, you need one for your life.
Here in West Virginia, you need a government-issued ID, not just for voting, but for many things that people take for granted, like opening a bank account, paying their utilities, or even catching a bus.
We have folks who just don't have access to these documents and don't have an ID to get access to resources like homeless shelters and food banks.
That's Peshka Calloway. She's the West Virginia State Director of Spread the Vote and Project ID. Calloway says the group helps in emergency situations as well, dealing with those impacted by floods and fires, to those fleeing domestic abuse.
I left a domestic violence situation in 2011. My son was 2 weeks old. I had to flee my home, and I left my birth certificate. I left everything. I had that experience, right? And I know how frustrating it could be and how anxious you are.
The Charleston chapter is the first in the Mountain State. Organizers hope to have other regional chapters up and running in the near future.
Now, in addition to helping people obtain the right documents, a lot of times the nonprofit will also pay for the government-issued ID. That's around $40, but $40 can make or break someone's wallet.
Absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned this is the first chapter in West Virginia. Are there going to be other ones like this?
Yes, so there are actually 9 across the country located in a bunch of different states, and they're also working to get more here in West Virginia so that there will be help across the Mountain State, not just here in Charleston.
You just don't think about how often you need an identification
No,
card.
you really
for how
don't.
many reasons.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Okay, looking for the follow-up to that. Thanks, Lily.
Absolutely.
Some other news for you tonight. A Boone County man has been arrested and charged with kidnapping and malicious assault. Deputies say Robert Stewart of Racine repeatedly hit his wife in a car driving from Montgomery to Slaughters Creek near Shillian. And she says that she begged for him to let her out along the drive. And according to his wife, at one point, Stewart held a pistol to her head and threatened to kill her. Deputies say the woman was able to escape and call 911 from the gas station. Stewart was arrested and taken to South Central Regional Jail.
State police in Huntington say a woman with special needs was attacked during a home invasion. It happened just before noon in the 4900 block of West Pea Ridge Road. Troopers say the suspect, a white male, left in a gray car, and that's all they know at this point. The woman was treated for non-life-threatening injuries, and anyone with information is urged to contact state police.
An Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper has gone before a judge on criminal charges. Trooper Christopher Ward has been charged with 3 counts of gross sexual imposition. According to Ohio law, this charge usually involves unwanted sexual contact. The 45-year-old appeared in court where he pleaded not guilty. The Ohio Attorney General's office says there are 2 alleged victims. Ward has reportedly been put on unpaid leave pending an investigation into his case. West Virginia woman has been indicted on charges of threatening to kill the president. A federal grand jury in Wheeling indicted 25-year-old Taryn Henthorne of Middleburn. Now, prosecutors say Henthorne made the threat to President Trump on Facebook and elsewhere last month. Henthorne faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine on each of 3 counts if convicted.
Now, here's something you don't hear every day. A county official says it may be several months until a humming sound stops drifting across the Ohio River from a manufacturing plant in Washington County, Ohio. We first brought you the story, you may remember, back in December. It was involving the Aramet plant. Wood County Commission President Blair Couch says he was told that the plant spent about $15 million to reduce its dust output. So they installed an air scrubber, which has fans that are believed to be causing this noise. Sheriff Steve Stevens has said the noise is causing a constant hum, and residents have been complaining even of some screeching sounds. Couch says Aramet says they hope to have the problem fixed in the next 12 to 15 weeks.
It was quite an exciting day for the West Virginia State Police and their families. 16 officers are promoted in a pinning ceremony. Ranks from sergeant all the way up to lieutenant colonel represented today by promotions. The ceremony represents the hard work and dedication of these men and women of West Virginia State Police.
We just don't say you've got so many years in, so we're going to promote you through the ranks from sergeant through lieutenant. So it's a lengthy process, and it's tough. You know, you promote where you have openings, and so these are well deserved. I'm really proud of everybody who's here today.
Among those receiving promotions today were the longest serving member of state police and the first African-American female captain. Congratulations to all of them.
President Trump announcing a new campaign to stop the HIV epidemic by the year 2030. He mentioned that during last night's State of the Union speech. The Department of Health and Human Services will be focusing on 48 counties, including those in Kentucky. HSS Secretary Alex Azar said new funding will be made available. The campaign will emphasize more efficient medical care and support services. He said, "Together, we will defeat AIDS in America and beyond." A new study shows Kentucky bourbon is lifting more than just spirits. It's actually raising the state's economy. In fact, yesterday, industry leaders cheered with lawmakers over another round of profit increases. This comes nearly a decade after business owners poured bourbon on the Capitol steps to protest a proposed tax hike. Now, Kentucky bourbon contributes, get this, over $8 billion annually to the bluegrass state's economy, as well as big increases in jobs, capital investment, and tax revenue.
An update now to our ongoing state of waste investigation into West Virginia state vehicle mismanagement and ultimately reform. A final count is in on the state's fleet. West Virginia currently owns 8,380 vehicles. Delegate Gary Howell of Mineral County, a chief architect for reform, says, quote, After years of confusion and conflicting data, we finally know how many vehicles the state owns. Knowing that could begin to save taxpayer dollars, could be hundreds of thousands. And that's because, as we earlier reported, the Board of Risk and Insurance Management, or BRIM, had been paying to insure around 12,000 vehicles.
The West Virginia legislature is honoring the Alzheimer's Association for West Virginia, all of the work that they do here in the Mountain State. Resolutions were passed in both chambers declaring it Alzheimer's Day. 5 million people nationwide have been diagnosed with some form of Alzheimer's and dementia. 38,000 of those patients live in West Virginia. Since we have among the oldest populations in America, it's important that people know there is help.
The recognition by the Senate and by the House is just very important to keep Alzheimer's and dementia in the public eye, and in preparation for spreading the word through public health for families that there are resources available.
Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the nation. A lot of the resources for helping West Virginians are free from the Alzheimer's Association. To contact them, just go to their website, www.alz.org/West Virginia.
As the opioid epidemic continues to plague the Mountain State and the nation, local officials and recovering addicts are trying a new approach to end the abuse.
They are now reaching out to the youth through education. Today, a drug abuse summit was held at one Boone County school to help bring awareness to their students. The summit centered around the message of hope, that there is help and resources and recovery groups readily available. Most recovering addicts who spoke today to those students were fellow Sherman High students. At one point, organizers say it hits home for these students.
And again, kids don't realize many times that one small decision after a football game at a party or at a friend's house at a sleepover can have lifetime consequences. And today we wanted to make a difference by sharing that with them.
The event was designed to shed light on a statewide issue for students to let them know that they can get help dealing with addiction.
Spring-like night out there, guys, tonight. Definitely dealing with the fog, the mist, the drizzle, showers, warm conditions, and mugginess out there, and then some flooding. If you're from Jackson, Athens to Parkersburg, low visibility. If you're Prestonsburg, Williamson, Logan, Madison, right up the corridor, low visibility. We've seen evidence of fog around the region. Plus, we have some flooding still going on. We have a couple of different kinds of flooding. The flashing area, that's the Scioto River. That'll be going up over the course of the next couple of days. All these areas, again, could be experiencing those low spots with high water. Now, tomorrow, it's not a complete washout. I want you to know that. The middle stretch of the day will feel very much like early May, 68 degrees, 75 between noon and 3, and then the showers start to move in as the sun goes down. I'll show you that. We're going to walk you through a wild temperature ride in just a few minutes.
All right, Spencer, thanks so much. Well, Charleston Mayor Amy Goodwin welcomes mayors from all around the Kanawha Valley and partners of the Charleston Convention and Visitors Bureau to learn ways to promote the area. Of course, Goodwin is the former West Virginia Tourism Commissioner. Participants got to take a tour of the newly renovated Coliseum and Convention Center. The CVB is working on ways to attract more sporting, meeting, and tourism traffic to all the Kanawha Valley.
So now that we have something really shiny to show off, the $18 million Shawnee Sports Complex and $8 million at the Clay Center, we really have something to brag about right now.
The CVB says they are also excited about a new county-wide travel planner and inspiration magazine. Well, it's that time again. The West Virginia International Auto Show is back at the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center. I know you and Brian are very excited about this.
It is a lot of fun. We were there today. I had a chance to check out some of the amazing cars, and I'm going to predict this year is going to be the best one yet. This is my 4th year, so I do have at least a few years to compare, right? The first luxury vehicles from Astorg Auto began filling up the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center. While the auto show will open its doors to the public this Friday, they'll be open through Sunday. The process for setting up, it's much longer, but it was a lot easier this year. Brian Hughes and I will have a very special VIP preview for you live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. right here on WOWK. We'll be revealing exclusive cars and trucks that some have barely even come off the production line, and they've never been on a car lot in West Virginia yet. One car even made its global debut during the Super Bowl. We can't wait for you to see it all.
Will they let you borrow one for test drive?
I'm going to ask. I'll let you know. Hey, still to come, who spends the most when it comes to Valentine's Day and why? We break it down for you after the break.